But on this point, again, there's a lot of emphasis on the sustainability of the Ukrainian front. This is the point that Kremlinites, Putinists like to talk about, is that, Ukraine is just going to be burnt out because Russia's strategic patience and the way that they conduct warfare is, going to bleed them out. But clearly, Ukraine is managing sort of this disproportionate aspect of the fight, whatever, asymmetry, very well. And so I wanted to ask your perspective of the role of drones, particularly because what we've seen is that big assets like strategic bombers and whatever, huge expensive items, are not necessarily needed anymore.
So drones and other unmanned systems, both in the air, on the ground, at sea, are changing the character of war. I mean, these are capabilities now that we didn't have, certainly not in quantity, before this. And so everyone is studying, trying to figure out, okay, wow, how do you unleash the potential of these capabilities to achieve the effects you need to achieve? And the book is not closed on this. I mean, we still are learning a lot. And as artificial intelligence becomes more accessible and more usable, the ability to launch large swarms of drones will be enhanced. But at the end of the day, I think you don't want to oversell drones. I mean, think about this. Last night, the Russians launched, I think the number was 549 or 449 or 479 different type drones and missiles against Ukrainian cities. Let's call it 500 for simple math. About 95% of those were shot down, or knocked down somehow. So hundreds of Shahed drones are being intercepted, knocked down by what Ukraine is able to do today. So there will always be this drone, counter drone, counter drone, sort of effort to counter that capability. And the countering capability will accelerate, as does the ability to use drones. Second thing to keep in mind is that while drones are a very, very effective weapon, the different types are, you cannot hold ground. You cannot protect the city. You cannot defend terrain with drones. You still are going to have land holding capabilities to protect critical infrastructure, populations, which is the traditional role of land forces. They may not look like they did 5, 10, 20 years ago, but you still are going to have forces, large forces, to protect populations and hold terrain. So how we do that. Now, of course, the drones have made it very difficult to do much movement 20 kilometers either way, either side of the line of contact between Russian and Ukrainian forces. I mean, so the ability to resupply, the ability to evacuate casualties, all of these things are very difficult because of drones. So people are having to adapt to that. The longer range drones, this is a terrific capability now that Ukraine can use to go after Russia's oil and gas infrastructure. The problem is still payload, to have enough drones that can range far enough to hit oil and gas infrastructure with a big enough payload to have a decisive effect, to really destroy a refinery, for example. That's they're not quite there yet, and I think they're not quite yet at the point where they have the quantity of the larger drones, larger payload drones. But I think this is a place where Germany and some other countries are helping, where they're investing in Ukraine's defense industry so that they can scale up what the Ukrainians are already developing.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting dichotomy between the sort of quantity and efficacy of the delivery systems of what you can actually use them for.